Hey y'all, how you doing? So today I want to talk to you about talismans, and I'm going to share with you the first talisman that I ever learned to make. But before I do that, I want to maybe talk to you about what is a talisman, or talismans versus amulets. So I know some people say that amulets are reactive and talismans are proactive, meaning um, amulets don't do anything for you until someone comes for you. So, like maybe protection or till an opportunity comes to you for love or money. And a talisman is more proactive. It will go out there and find whatever it is that you want and bring it to you. Um, Me personally, I define as amulet as anything created by nature. For example, a rock or a stone, um, a rabbit's foot, a bison's tooth, um, bark from a tree, anything from nature that is nature made. And a talisman is anything that a person can make. For example, these metal seals that people can buy online. It's brass with symbols engraved on it. That's a talisman. A mojo bag is a form of talisman. Some doll babies can be considered a talisman. One's not really meant to represent a person, but rather a theme or a goal. So like a money drawing doll. Um, Amulets and talismans are devices that people use to attract things to them or send things away. It's simple as that. You have talismans for protection, for love, for luck, good health, all that stuff. Amulets, same way. An amulet for love, good luck, health, all of that. And so that's what a talisman is. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the first talisman I learned to make, and I want to go back here to probably the 80s. I was in elementary school when I first got my library card. And I told y'all that I was sort of a loner growing up. I didn't have a whole lot of friends. I basically kept to myself. I like to read. I like to explore the woods near my house. And when I got a little bit older, and I was able to sort of go off on my own further than just the woods, I was able to walk up to the library in my hometown. It was probably about a 20-minute walk. And I told you before how I loved books and I would love to read, and how, I would sit on the floor in front of my Aunt Ernestine's bookcase, and I would just pull books down at random, or the encyclopedias at our own house, just pull them out at random and just read them. And so I would do this at the library. I would just walk up and down the stacks looking for books to look at. And in our library, there were, I don't know what the technical term is for it, but there were these certain books that were there and they were available to pull off the shelf and look at, but you couldn't check them out and take them home. And that book, one of those books, was this one, the Malleus Maleficarium, or the Witch's Hammer. And this was written by Heinrich Kramer and James Springer. And this was basically a manual on how to hunt and interrogate witches. Now, in the years since I was in elementary school, a lot of stuff has come out about this book where these two guys didn't really have permission to write this book. I believe the story was that they forged a letter from the Pope giving them permission to do this, and it was filled with a lot of flights of fantasy, information that was gleaned from torture, which wasn't really considered to be reliable. But this was one of the books I pulled down, and I would read through it. And in the book, there's a couple of little spells or things here and there. And I had this little notebook that I would write in whenever I would come across something interesting. And so I would write little things out of this book into my notebook. Or, again, things I might overhear, for example, in the South. If any of your neighbors have ever told you to take a 9-volt battery and throw it over your house, you know why. You might not know why. Do you know why? Well, I'm not going to tell you. Anyway, I was walking up and down the stacks looking at random books that caught my eye. And there was this one book, and I really have tried to think of the name of it or the author, but I can't. At first, I thought it was Max Maven, who is a professional magician, illusionist, and mentalist, because he did write a book on fortune telling. But I looked him up on Amazon, and I don't believe it was Max Maven. But whoever the author of this book, he was a professional magician, illusionist, and mentalist. He would tell you how to do card tricks and things of that nature, but he did have a couple of things in there on how to do more metaphysical things. And he talked about making a talisman. And the way he talked about making a talisman was by using something like this, a piece of yarn or string. And what you would do was, he talked about drawing on your personal magnetism. Now, me, being a middle schooler, I didn't really know what that meant. I thought it meant the energy of your body. And so he would say, you sit down, calm your mind, think about what it is that you want, and then tie a loose knot in a piece of string, all right? Just a very loose knot like this. Think about what it is that you want, concentrate on it, and then when you're ready, you pull that knot tight. And so you just pulled that energy of your personal magnetism into that knot. And he tells you to do this 7 times, so that by the time you're done, you have 7 knots in the string. Now, those of you who studied witchcraft or even hoodoo, you've probably heard of little spells like this before, using 9 knots. And sometimes they'll say there's a certain way you have to do it. For example, you might start in the middle, and then you'll do here and here, and then here and here, and then here and here, and you keep going from the center outward until you have 9 knots. I personally prefer 7, because 7 is a mystic number. 7's the number of the dreamer, and the 7 days of the week, and the 7 classical planets and all that. I just really like the number 7. So when I do this, I use the number 7. Also, me being in middle school and really new and learning things, again, I didn't really understand what he meant when he said personal magnetism. So the way I experienced it when I did this, what I felt was, I felt myself drawing on the energy of my own aura around me. And the only way I can explain it is, remember when you were little and you would buy those big balloons? And you'd blow up the balloon, and there was like a tube about that long, and then you would take that tube and sort of turn it in on itself so it looked kind of like a belly button, and then the air wouldn't escape. That's what I experienced. It was almost like my aura folded in on itself like this, and the energy come down through that hole into my head, down my shoulders, down my arms, out my fingers, and into this knot. And I did that 7 times, and that was my talisman. Now, I know when people are young and they're new to magic, it's really hard for them to hold an image, a singular image or thought in their mind for a very long time. So that's one reason why you hold it for as long as you can, and when you think you're about to lose it, you pull that knot. And then you do it 7 times, because this power builds up. You have, instead of 1 battery, you imagine 7 batteries of power here that you have built up in this. Also, I wanted to tell you, you really don't need anything other than this strength and your own mind power or willpower. But if you are new to the craft, new to folk magic, and you feel like you need a little bit more ritual drama to get you in the right headspace to do this, you can do a spiritual bath before this. You can set up a little altar, light candles, light some incense to really put you in the mood for magic. I think there was one teacher who called things like this triggers. They trigger your mind to make magic before you actually do it, and it puts you in the right headspace. But really, if you've trained yourself and trained your mind, you really don't need anything other than this string. The last thing I want to tell you is, again, for people who find it hard to focus or concentrate, I have 2 pieces of advice for you. I usually tell people, don't worry about focusing, don't worry about concentrating. I replace those words with the word imagine, because everybody has an imagination. When you tell people to concentrate, when you tell people to focus, there are already little walls that go up in some of their, I don't know how, I can't do that, I don't have the attention span. But everybody daydreams, everybody can imagine. So you can just imagine what it is that you want and then tie your knot. The other thing, piece of advice, if you find it hard to visualize, you can take a picture of something that you want to attract, of a person, a car, yourself when you were younger and healthier, and you can maybe, I'm going to turn this way, maybe tape it to the wall so that it's eye level. And then you can hold your string down here close to you, and you can focus your attention on that picture, and just let yourself be drawn into that picture, whether it's, a person or a thing, and how much you want that. And then tie your loose knot, stare at your picture, allow the picture to evoke these emotions and feelings for you, because a lot of people are visual. Look at porn. Porn images get people in the mood. Look at art. Look at the tarot cards. These images evoke feelings and memories and emotions in you. So you can put a picture up, really focus on that picture to really get your concentration and imagination focused. Because remember, energy goes where attention flows, or energy flows where attention goes. Anyway, and then tie that knot. And then when you're done, you have your talisman. Now, once you have your talisman, what do you do with it? It's really easy. This is just a piece of string. You can ball it up, put it in your pocket, carry it with you. You can put this in a mojo bag. You can use it as a bookmarker. You can put it in a special book, put it in your Bible, and keep it there until your goal manifests. And then once your goal manifests, you can burn it. I've seen some people take their knotted string and they tie it around their wrist. That's their talisman. If you're worried about people seeing it or asking you about it, if you make your string long enough, you can tie it around your ankle and then put your sock over it or something where your pants will hide it and nobody will see it. And then you just wear it until it falls off. So anyway, that is my story of the first talisman I ever learned to make. And so I'd like to hear from you. Have you ever made a talisman like this? What was your experience? What was the first talisman you ever learned to make? And until next time, remember, make good decisions, do good things, be good people. Bye.